we started with that, and we have done with one of the way to handle that. What is in synchronous, what is in asynchronous. While dealing with asynchronous, we try to handle using a set timeout. All right. Asynchronous operation, if anything is happening simultaneously, is it running on the main thread? No, it's on the separate thread, please. Who is taking care of it? We are not worried, JS engine is taking care of it, and when it has to come back for execution depends upon the call stack. All right. So the first way we have done is in set timeout. What is the drawback with in set timeout? I know that code is not visible. We already coded that one yesterday. What's the drawback with that? I've seen few of you did not got executed that exercise because you missed a few curly braces, timings, and all of them. Right? How did you debug it? If you are using set timeout, you know it is trying to fall like as in a pyramid. You see all the timers towards the down. I know last rows cannot see that. It's called as in callback hell. It's very hard to debug the code where the code is going wrong, why it is not behaving as we expected. All right? It is called as in callback hell. So to avoid this, and also another reason for a set timeout is it's not like what we are expecting, that may not happen. It's not in sequential order also sometimes. So what happens to avoid this kind, though it is helping us, we are going for the second way of doing asynchronous operation is called promise. What is a promise? We'll try to start an exercise in a minute. Before that, I wanted to introduce what is a promise. Today, no hand holding on the promises and other thing. All right. What is a promise, please? Not this one, general promise. General, I promised you something. I promised you, those who are doing all the exercises in FSD, I promised you that your unit test marks will be considered. Did I make that promise yesterday? All these embedded learning exercises on FSD will be considered for your unit test marks for WT. There's a promise I made. If I'm not fulfilling that promise, you've done everything, but I'm not considering that. I'm not maintaining that promise, yes or no? Similarly, here also, promise is something like you are trying to, again, simulate the same thing, please. Either you fulfilled your promise or did not fulfill your promise. If it is fulfilled, like it has to wait for a couple of seconds and doing some task, if it is done correctly, do something. Go for another promise or go for some other task or any sequential task as per your requirement in the code. If it is not fulfilled, what I have to do? That's all you need to manage. So similar way, here we are trying to write using promises. We are going to eliminate our callback hell using the promises. And here also be careful, promises has to be chained correctly. If you are not chaining it correctly, again, debugging is again problem for you. But still, we have something called as in try and catch, like you do in the OOPS. Here also we can do that one, please. Somewhat we can eliminate that callback hell here. All right. So let's try to continue our same exercise with an ice cream one. Before that, let me show you the basic code of the promise. We'll see the basic syntax here. I'm not going to type up here. You see this? Here, a new promise. A new promise is taking a callback function, resolve and reject. Resolve if your promise is successful. Reject if a promise is unsuccessful. What has to be done? You need to write, please. You see here, resolve, I'm trying to give some basic message over here. Either you can write the simple console.log as well. So if something is, you're meeting your deadline or you're meeting your promise, resolve it. If you're not meeting, reject it. It's a basic syntax, please. Now you see, this promise is returning something, some object. This I'm trying to take to get more readability. I'm making that variable name is also a promise, please. This promise, new promise, P uppercase, which will return an object, and I'm trying to hold that into a promise variable. All right? Now, how do I chain them? Okay, these are the different states as a pending state. If it is at an initial state, we did not started it yet, neither fulfilled or not rejected. Fulfill, what has to be done? Has to be written in the resolve. What if it is not fulfilled, that is called rejected status, and we call that as an operation fail, and what has to be done, we will write in the reject. So this is how, please. You see, this was I was talking about the reference which I am trying to hold my object. On that promise, what I have to do? If it is fulfilled, or if you want to chain more and more promises, how do I do? Then is something, if it is fulfilled, do something like this. Otherwise, catch, if it is going wrong, catch something. All right? What is this finally? Finally is something like whether you fulfill or you may not fulfill your promise. Finally, obviously, it gets executed by default, like your try, catch, and finally in Java programming, it's similar to that, place. Basically, we used to clear the resources which we allocated. Here also, you can adopt the same way of methodology, what has to be written in the finally. All right? How does the promise works again? A promise is made. If it is made, we did not started it out, neither rejected or neither fulfilled. It's pending state. If it is fulfilled, go to the resolve. If it is resolved, what has to be done? You can chain as many as you can. Yesterday, if you remember, we have like if it is taken the order, go to the kitchen, cut the fruits, take the ice and water, all of them, right? Then. You can nest as many as you wanted. If something is false, if I'm not, for example, if the shop is not at all open, I cannot make any order. So you can make that here, is shop open? I mean to say ice cream shop is open. If it is open, do whatever that order, what the sequence we followed yesterday, then do it. If the shop is not at all open, you cannot order something or you cannot eat the ice cream. So you reject it, catch the shop not open, going back or something. Catch the shop is closed, going back. Finally, in the going back. Either finally you can, either you eat or you do not eat, obviously you need to go to home. So that you can write in the finally. I want this to be written in a code format. I'll start an exercise. I want you to try for this. Please start that. I have given the template for reference. Try to use promises there and work on it, please. Exercise started. The stories are again the same, please. You are trying to simulate the workflow of the food delivery app, actually ice cream delivery app. Place the order. The customer places an order for ice cream. Prepare the food. The kitchen prepares the food. Deliver the food. All right. So here you see this. Placing an order should take 1 second. Preparing the food should take 3 seconds. I reduced the complexity here. Deliver the food should take the 2 seconds. After preparing the food, task 4, packing can happen concurrently with delivery. This is a trickier part here. I said one after the other over here, but packing the food can happen concurrently with delivery. While delivering itself, I can pack it or something. It's an exceptional case, you need to think on it. So that means you need to handle multiple promises concurrently. How do I do that? Please try to work on it. If you are not getting a hint, I'll try to give. That is called concurrent execution of an promises. How do I do that? We'll see that if you are not getting it. Meanwhile, try to work one after the other on these promises. I already gave these, please. Place the order. Return the promise, what does it is returning. And how do you write the logic for placing the order? See the text over there. And use set timeout if needed, because each step has a couple of seconds to be taken. Prepare food, write your logical part. Deliver food, write your logical part. Here, sometime you need to call all of them. What is this async and await? I'll talk in the next process, please. Ignore at this moment of this async. Try it. I already gave the hint here. Promise.all should be used for concurrent options, concurrent tasks. I'll help you out how to do that, please. Meanwhile, complete this process.
Yeah, how many submissions? Just update the number of submissions. Yeah, Bilahari, if you can give a hint and extend time to more 5 minutes, I think if there can be more submissions.
All right, sir. We still have 1 minute. Let me wait for 1 minute. Everybody, you know there are multiple functions here, and those functions are talking about the different steps, tasks has to be done in our problem statement. All right? Yes. Let me try to finish out one of it. Promise place order. What it has to be for the place order? Order placed. So let's write set timeout. You know, set timeout will take 2 parameters, and the second parameter would be the timer, and order should be taken for how much seconds? 1 second. And log what? Order placed. What is that? Order placed, O uppercase. So once it is done, forgot the double quotes. Once it is done, just call the resolve. We have kept our promise. That is all, please. This is an hint I can give for you. The other 3 methods, try to do it out. And where I am chaining that, that has to be chained here. Which has to be come first, which has to come next, has to be chained here. Think on it. I'll give more 5 minutes. Start food delivery process. Try to call that function. Place order. After placing order, what has to be called? Call that function. So here, try to call all your functions in the start delivery process, all the way down. What is a function? What is the first one? Prepare food. No, I'm sorry. Place order. Call the function called place order. Next, you call the, what is the process? Next, call for the prepare food. Next, call for the delivery food. Next, call for the packaged food. Right? All these 4 functions has to be called one after the other. Now, what happens if I do like this? So, let me remove this async. I'll come back to this. Or else let me write one more functionality. This is set timeout. And food, what was that? Food prepared. All right, and food prepared will take how many seconds? 3 seconds. Just I'm using only the 2 functions now. Let me call prepare food. All right, let me remove this async as I told. Save this and let me run this. After 1 second, order placed, food prepared. Working as expected. I did not complete the other 2 functions actually. All right. Now, let me talk about one clause over here. I wanted packaging the food and delivering food can happen concurrently. How do I do this? For doing that, if you wanted to happen the two different tasks concurrently, you need not, it is not dependent on one after. You see, without order I cannot start preparing the food. It has to be one after the other, right? But I wanted some task to be done simultaneously. If that is the case, everybody, please try to call promise.all. I already gave that in the hint, all right? I'm not going beyond this. How many tasks has to be called concurrently? Can be more than one. Now tell me which data structure I can hold more than one data. Array. So put that an array over here. What all to be called? Try to maintain that order also, please. So what all to be called? Try to call that function 1 over first here, then this function 2 over here. This is all the hint I can give for you now. This is without async await, please. You know, you might have seen async and await over there. This also works without our async await. Is the promises clear so far? Yes? All right. Okay? Now let me move further. You already talked all of them. You see this? Promise.all. You know, one of it, if it is not satisfying, is not maintaining the promise, it may return an unfulfilledness, right, rejection, then you can do with a dot then all of them, all right. Let me talk about an async await. We do have the promises. Why are we going for an async await, like, all right. Imagine it also, async await also takes internally the architecture of an promises only, all right. So how to make ourselves more cleaner and clearer, we are going to use an async await, please. The example with the exercise which we have done may not make the sense, the difference between the promise and await, promises and async await, but try to, mostly we'll be using the further classes on async and await, please, all right. So they have two important keywords for async and await. So you see here, I'm taking an example, basic usage. I am fetch data function. I'm trying something, try and catch. Why I'm trying to put that in the try and catch? You'll be seeing here, await. Till I'm using a fetch function over here, I'm using some API here, all right? As I promised, I'll be not typing. I have taken the code for your reference here. I thought of typing, but it's taking a longer time in the class, so I took on the PPT. All right? Till that data is been fetched, I should not go further, because my successive statements may be dependent on the result which it has been pulled in. You see here the response, the successive statement is dependent on that response. Unless I get this response, I cannot go further. It's dependent over here. So if that is the case, yes, please wait for it. Wait for it. Await. Await. Since I'm using an await, it has to be associated with a keyword called async that says that whatever the function, within the function, if I notice anywhere await, I need to wait till get its process done. It's kind of a synchronous operation, but asynchronously. You see this? Await, fetch the data, till I fetch the data on this and store that into the response. I cannot do on the second line. Or else, you see await on the response again. Meanwhile, if you are not writing await on this, I need to wait for the response, please. So, however, the fetch, I am using an await till it get the data, I cannot do the further. So here, it doesn't make sense if I write an await on that response.json also. And this is very important function for an interview. What is an .json? And you will have one more .parse. I want you to explore .parse and .json. What is the difference between them? It's an interview question, please. All right. If you do not answer that, I'll take a call on it and I'll try to answer it, please. Explore that one. So I'm trying to log that data. If something, if something is going wrong on this await, for example, my API is not updated or else it's been not on this side, on this URL. It cannot fetch the data, right? It shows an 404 error. So since I cannot get the data, it stops there and comes to the catch and log the message like console dot, whatever you would like to write. All right? So this is a basic example. Now imagine there is no much dependencies over here. Sequential execution. You see this? I want, it's the same example. One minute. Concurrent execution. I need to update my PPT. Concurrent execution. So I want 2 tasks to be done simultaneously. So you see task 1 over here, task 2 over here. I don't know. Last rows, can you make out from this PPT? Can you see the text? Thank you. Task 1, here is a task 1. Task 2, here is a task 2. Each task is trying to do some task. It can be fetching the data or connecting to the database. It depends upon your requirement, please. As of now, I'm trying to resolve just by using the set timeout. You know, set timeout depends upon your timer you have passed. Simulating the same thing within real time. Your database connection may also take little time. Your fetching data from an JSON or else an API may take a little time. To simulate that, I have given the set timeout over here. So you see, till it takes in 1 second, it's a concurrent tasks, please. It's not awaiting on each task here. Unlike here, I have written the 2 different awaits for the 2 different statements. It's not, there is no await on this. This task will be done independently. The second task also run independently. And what are the response on this will be taken to the task 1 promise. Variable can be anything again. To make it sense, I made the task 1 promise. Task 2 promise, it returning that promise, please. So on that promise.all, as you all know, concurrent executions, I'm trying to call that on those 2 promises. I hope this is more clear. Now try to take this example, this reference, try to write async and await on it. On the same exercise, please. I already gave async and await there. And you might have already done that. Let me wait for 3 minutes for this. Here is a takeaway, promise.all. I already wrote here. What are the functionalities I need to call concurrently? Try to write those functions over here. So we already know what is a Node.js. It's an runtime environment plus our JavaScript libraries. These libraries can, few are inbuilt, few are coming from outside. What do you mean by outside? We have an NPM Node.js, right? Few of developers like you will be future developers, like you have developed many things and uploaded to the npm.js, right? You can use them. Like one of an example for that is, you might have already done in your previous project school, Express, Mongoose. Are you creating anything for that? No. You are trying to download it and trying to use it. All right? So those are already ready-madely available libraries. We call them as in modules. So let me talk on the modules now. What are the features of Node.js then? It's an async and event-driven. What is an event-driven? You'll come to know. I'll take a small example now. You'll be understanding that. It's a very fast, and you know JavaScript is a single thread, but internally it works as in multi-threading with the help of the libUA. If you remember, yesterday we talked about that. All right? So Node.js is owned by the MIT. This is an architecture, please. It's another way of showing the callback what we were talking the first 2 days. All right? I'm taking about the V8, I'm talking on the Google Chrome. So where to use Node.js? Except a much complex CPU intensive tasks, you can use anywhere. Like single page applications and real-time applications, client command line user interface applications, and the hardware thing, please. Where not to use, as I said, like CPU intensive tasks, you cannot use Node.js because It's a single threaded one. Though it is internally using and multi-threaded using a C++ library, may not that efficient if you are doing more and more burden on the CPU. So there are three types of modules available. The types of modules which I was talking about, like Express, Mongoose, all of them are the third-party modules, please. We need to download it, import it, and use them. Other two types, built-in modules and core modules, comes with the Node.js. Could someone help me out? What are built-in modules you might have used? Pardon? File system, path. Path comes under core module. HTTP, very good. Pardon? Fetch. Have you used any operating system modules? That also comes under core module. I did not listed all of them. All right. So let's start with an built-in modules, then we directly go to an third-party one, please. Core module, I'll take in help of the path and we'll try to use it. One for each, you can talk like that. So before going to that, okay, I'll talk about this when I talk about the HTTP module. So let's try to write one built-in module which is called as an read line. Have you ever used read line? The exercises which you are trying to do here are using read line. One moment. For example, program 3, not in this, somewhere we are using it. Yeah. Do you see this? Readline module. I said we'll talk on this when I start the Node.js. We are using it unknowingly, but we'll try to work more on this, talk more on this, on it, what it is trying to do. All right. Let me open my VS Code. Everybody try to use your VS Code. I hope you, as for the day one, we asked you to install VS Code and then latest Node.js. One moment. I'm trying to do something called app.js. All right. So, how do you import some packages in Java? For example, util package. Import java.util.specific function or class, right? Here we import by using require. What do I need it? Read line. So read line is an inbuilt module available. Oh. Require, please. What does it do? It tries to return an object. And that object I am trying to hold into a variable called let or const. It's up to you. Just for readability, I am using the same name as a module name. So require is trying to return an object, and then that object I am trying to store into a variable called readline. So what are the methods available on the readline module can be accessed through readline variable now. So indirectly I can say readline is in reference to that object now. So what are the methods available? Please explore using nodejs.com. Readline dot create interface. Interface, because I need to type something from the keyboard. I wanted to see something on the console. That is my basic input and output interfaces I can use. So create interface is a function available on the readline module, and it returns, it needs a parameter as an object, two things in it. One is input, the other one is output. You know object, it's an object over here, curly braces. This is the key, this is the key. And what is the value I wanted to give for that? Process.stdin, which is my which talks about my basic input device, that is my keyboard. And output process.stdout, process.stdout, which is trying to talk about basic my console, basic output screen. And this also returning an object. So let me try to store that into a variable called RL, read line. RL stands for read line. All right. Now try to read something. RL.question. There are two ways of reading: RL.question, RL.event. All right. RL.question will try to take two parameters. We'll try to take the two parameters. The first one is a prompt, which is an optional one. The second one is a callback function, which what has to be done there. So for let me say at this moment, I wanted you to enter the name. This is a prompt, which is a completely optional, please. And whatever I have read here, that has to go and sit into a variable called name, that will be my argument for my callback function. All right. So let me try to log that name what the user has given. Console.log your name is plus the name which you have entered. All right. Let me try to run this code. Let me talk about an on in a minute. First, let's do with a question. How do I run my node JavaScript here? Go to the terminal where you saved your file. I hope you can see, yes. Node, my file name is app.js. It's waiting for the name to be given. I'm giving KMIT. You entered KMIT. If you see after you entered KMIT, my cursor is still over there. It has not finished its task. Your read line is still waiting for something. It doesn't mean, see, it's still waiting for something. Something has to be happen after you required input is been done. So that is called event. Let me remove this part. Let me come out of this. I hope you made the difference, everybody. Am I making sense? My process is still waiting to read something. I don't want that to be happen. I want only the name to be taken and come out of it and print your name is so and so. So how do I do that now? So here it is called, oh, not this. Yeah, here. After reading the name, close the reading part of it. That can be done by using an rl.close. So rl.question is trying to read something, rl.close reading the closing thing actually. Now, this close will bubble an event. I mean to say it fires an event. That has to be caught. You know, on a browser, submit button, if you click on it, something has to happen. If you close something, something has to come. Something has to happen. That, if you wanted to leave like this, leave it. Let me rerun. KMIT again. You see, it's not waiting for something. Immediately it printed and came back to my original one. I did not handle what has to be done on closing. It's up to you whether do you handle it or not. It completely depends upon your requirement. All right. Let me add an requirement to facilitate this event over here. On close, this will raise an event called close. So on close, you know, you might have done in JavaScript DOM manipulation, on submit, on click. Similarly here, rl.on. RL dot on. What should I do? It takes in two parameters. What is that event and what has to be done if I fired that event. So what is that event? On close here. So it is a close. What has to be done? It's up to you what you would like to write within this place. So let this moment, let me write something like log statement, console.log, interface closed, and exit the process. You know, which we opened on the lines 3 and 4. I'm trying to close that. I hope I'm making sense on this basic, everybody. Let me rerun the code now. I'm typing ngit. Do you see that? Event fired, closed. On that event, I'm trying to print something and it has come out of that reading part. If you want to handle that closing part, do this kind of a thing. If you do not want to handle, leave it. So two scenarios I have shown you. Everybody, am I making sense on this? We are doing the readline inbuilt module which comes with a Node.js. If your program, if you are doing your CLI applications, then obviously you need this kind of an readline inbuilt module. Am I clear on this, everybody? Can I move further for another module? Yes? Now let me introduce you to another important module. Let me open a new file. File system, as one of our friends said. File system is an inbuilt module which tries to read something from your PC and you do manipulations on it. If you wanted to, let me keep it as simple as possible. Read a file, write a file. And take beyond it where it depends upon your requirement. So again, I need to import, what I need to import? FS module. FS is a module. This returns an object. Let me try to store that into an FS reference over here. On an FS, alright. So let me create some file here, one folder. Let me call here as in files, okay. In a folder called files, I don't know last rows, can you make out I'm creating a folder? Yes. Let me have some input.txt, alright. I have something like hello KMIT here, okay. I want that file to be read. So that file can be read synchronously and asynchronously. Let me show you the both way please. So how do I do? fs dot read file, you see trying to show me here, read file synchronous. Read file synchronously, alright. So it takes two parameters. First one is the path, second one is in format of it. So first one, where is my file? Dot slash, you know what do you mean by dot slash? I'm talking about a relative path of it, alright. So dot slash files folder slash input.txt. And make sure that, I already gave that in a single quotes, alright. And my reading format is in UTF-8. I want you to explore on the UTF-8 please. And whatever I have read from this, let me store, text input, what I have got from that text. Let me log it. Let me close this one for better readability. Okay, you can see in one go. I'm logging it please, text input. Let me run this file, node fs.js, you see hello KMIT. Now, I want to create a file. How do I do that? Copy this, or else let me write for better readability. fs dot write file synchronously. Write file synchronously will take two parameters, the path of it, let me take the same path, dot slash files, comma, slash output dot txt. If you remember, we did not create an output dot txt. If you do not have it, does it raises an compilation error? No. I mean, it's an habit. Does it raises an error to us? No. It creates a file for us. All right. So what has to be? What is the content you would like to pass to it? Let me pass hello everybody. All right. So this one, whatever it has been written, let me try to store that into text output and let me log it, please. Good thing with the JavaScript is you need not give the semicolons. Let me run this. Undefined it shows. One moment. Does it created the output.txt? Yes. Hello everybody. I think I'm not reading it correctly. I think I need not read, right? I need not store that into something. Read one more time. Copy this above line. Paste it here. This time read the file called output and store that into the output, text output. My bad. I was taking the reference of the input file. Yeah, let me clear this. All right. Now this is happening synchronously, please. Asynchronously, just remove this sync name here. Okay. You can do the chaining of it, read something, add more and more files. I wanted you to explore on it. So asynchronous reading has to be done by using a function called read file function and write file function. I want you to explore these, please. Read file and write file. Read file sync does synchronously. Read file does asynchronously. Explore more on this. All right. Or else, let me take a basic example. I'm trying to update the same file. I'm removing the sync. Or else, copy this. Comment out. Paste it. Remove this sync. All right. Let me do something here. Console.log reading file. All right. Let me comment out this. Now see this. I'm running this read file, which will try to read the file. Now this takes the one more parameter callback function. And let me log something here, console.log, whatever it has read, that come and sit in two things here. One is an error, one is the data what you have read. Names can be anything. I am using appropriate names over here. You can use X, Y, whatever you would like to. Let me remove this part now. Data. All right. Let me remove this part as well. So read file synchronously will take a path and the format and a callback function. In the callback function takes the two parameters. One is an error. If the file does not exist, what has to be done? And if the file exists, what has to be done? If the file exists, that has to come and sit into the data. Imagine this data here, our case, our input data has only 2 words. Imagine if that is some thousands of words. definitely it will take some time to load. Now let me run this. Are we getting the same data? Do you see this? Reading file has come first, which is on the line 6. Line 4 did not come first. This is because whenever I am using this part, read file will does asynchronously goes on to the separate thread. Meanwhile, till it reads, the remaining part gets executed as usual. Once my call stack is free, which now it is ready with the data read and it is in the queue, will come to the call stack and then the data got printed. In this case, you see that it's a very evident over here. Reading file has come first and later the hello KMT, which is the part of the text. Am I making sense here, asynchronous one? Imagine if the data is a larger data. Imagine anything. So, you see, it will take some time to get the data. Meanwhile, I am not passing my operations to be done, and it is continuing my operations. Similarly, with the write data, I want you to explore it, please. All right? Now, with this, we'll try to talk on HTTP. Now you are going to create your own server and do the exercise now. All right? Let me take one more. Create a file, server.js. Now I need to talk more on the web components. So, come back here. How web works. I don't know last rows can make it or not. Can you see? No. All right. I don't know. Let me share this after the class or something. Meanwhile, let me take a whiteboard and show it to you, please. Suppose this is a client, which is my web browser, is talking on something like where this is my server. On my server, you can take one IP address, can be anything, please. All right. So let me take some IP address 192.168.0.1. It is having different port numbers within that. Let me take an 8000 port, which is running my node server. On 7000 port, where I am running my Java server. Some other port, I am running other different servers. Now client is asking for http colon nodejs.com something. All right, where actual my intention is to talk to this Node.js server. So this I am trying to request and this is trying to give in a format of a response. Now what internally happening? You see I am requesting the Node.js server. That means it has to go to this IP and ping this port number and get that server. But how internally it is going to happen? It is going to, you see whenever you see this nodejs.com, where on which URL you are running your Tufan? 10.11.51.100. On which URL you are doing the exercises? KMIT online. Do you know the IP of the KMIT online? What do you remember? Do you remember the IP of KMIT online or do you remember the kmitonline.com? You remember kmitonline.com, right? So that is how I am saying this. Imagine this is a kmitonline.com. Internally, it goes to the DNS, domain name server, service, I am sorry. All right. This internally maps what is the URL and what is the corresponding IP of it. 192.168.0.1. That's what I have written here, my server. And go to the port number 8000. This, you remember only the URL of this. You do not remember the IP. But while doing your Tufan, we did not host this onto the internet, so we are not giving you the URL of it. We are trying to just give the IP of it. Are you making out of it, everybody? Am I making sense? Every URL has its own IP, please. Either it's google.com, either it's yahoo.com, either it's facebook.com, anything. It has its own IP. You are not remembering through all of these sites through IPs. You are remembering their names. So, I remember this name. It's DNS job to get its IP, give it to the browser. This browser will establish the connection over here. Will establish the connection to the server by using a protocol TCP and IP. Once this, I think you are learning the CN parallelly in your curriculum now. You know packets. Who will manage the packets in the network layer diagram? It sends all the packets to this server. Server, after receiving all the packets and assembling all of them, all right, it takes a request from the browser. What it is requesting, if it is available, and give the response to the, if it is available or not available. Either way, it has to give the response. If it is available, the requested resource what the client is asking for, that has to be given as a response. If it is not available, either you need to give the 404 error, page not found. All right? This is how internally it is going to work, please. You need an IP and you need a port number. Everybody, are you all with me? Am I making sense? This is how internally it is going to work now. Now it's our turn, since we are starting the Node.js, let's try to create one of the server for us. All right? Let's try to do. How do I do that? By using an inbuilt module called HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. All right? While requesting, passing the request, you will pass your URL, you will pass your IP, you will pass your request header. What all you are requesting? All of them, please. What are you requesting? Are you requesting HTML page, or any image, or any data, or any JSON? What else? Depends upon your thing. Response. I cannot manipulate all of them, but response, the server, since you are constructing your own server now, you are responsible to send what response. Do you want to send the response in a format of an HTML file, or do you want to send as in JSON? Nowadays, what we are trying to do, stack, will be send the JSON. If you send the JSON, the client side, by using React, it's your turn to render the JSON data what you have received, what way you would like to render it, either in a table format or in any other format. It all depends upon the requirement. All right? Am I making sense here? Now let's start creating the server. I'll be quick on it, please. So what do I need here? Require HTTP inbuilt module. And let me try to hold that into it returns an object. Let me hold that into the same name so that it is meaningful for us to understand in the upcoming statements. Now, it has two steps, please. Step 1 and step 2. Step 1, create the server. Create server. Step 2, start the server. You are doing manually, please, everything. All right? Create the server. How do I create the server? Just write HTTP dot create server is a method available. We'll take two things here. One is callback function. All right. It takes in two parameters in it. One is request, one is response. So, you know what is a request? The browser is what the browser is asking for. Response, what the server is sending for. All right. So as of now, just I would like to log something. I do not want to send any response. I want a new request is what I can give is a new request is requested, or what? What makes more sense? A new request is requested something. Okay. This makes sense. Received a new request. All right, that's all I wanted to. Now, how do I start the server? How do I start the server? So, whatever it has created the server, it returns a server object here. Let me try to store that into something here called server. Now, start that server. Server dot, it has to listen on some port number. Listen. We'll take two things here. The first one is a port number, the second one is an IP. All right? The first one is a port number. Let me give as an 3000, and IP I would like to give. If you do not pass an IP, it takes a local host. Let me pass an IP over here. 127.0.0.1. All right? So let me have third parameter also, so that to give a meaningful message, server is started. Console.log, server is started. All right? Now, let's run this code. Command run terminal, node, what did I create? Server dot, I named as servers, .js. You see server is started. Now go back to your URL, take one browser. What was that? 127.0.0.1:8000. I did not send any request. One moment.
Bilahari, the port number 3000.
Oh, sorry. I'm typing 8000 actually. You can see received a new request. All right. I'm still not sending anything as in response here. Now it's turn to send the response. Scenario 2, this is a simple message to show something. Received a new request. Now let me send the response. Response, how I can send? Through my response over here, response object. There are multiple ways of sending the response. Send, end of a response also. At this moment, let me send something like simple message, hello from the server. So whenever you do some change, I need to restart my server here. How do it has to get updated? By using NodeMon, we'll talk about that some other day. You see here, hello from the server. This is how you are sending the message, please. Now I was talking like it is been hitted from the client requesting from this. We created the server also. So now let me show you what client is giving, what server is giving. Inspect element. You can see here, After this, go to the network tab. Go to the network tab. Yeah, you see here. I don't know whether last rows can make it out. See here. You can see here, it is asking the request here over here, 127.0.0.1, and hello from the response is hello from the server. Now, it's a simple message. What if I'm sending an HTML file as a response? Can I do that, or HTML content? You know, basic example, HTML file, CSS file, all of them. What happens, you know, it requests for all the files associated what the user is requesting for. In addition to the URL, it also asks for the HTML file. It also asks for the CSS. All right? To make it show very quickly, I'll be quick on it and we'll start an exercise, please. Can I send an HTML content as a message? Yes. Scenario 3, not only this, I'm commenting out this line. I'm doing this as an H1 tag. All right. Now go back to server, reload. You see favicon. This time the text is in text and the plain, and you see the response. Where I'm seeing the response. Here you can see my response is hello from KMIT. Hello from the server. Now I want this from my one external file. In the files, let me create one more file called something like index.html. All right. So HTML, I'm sorry. Just I'm sending one h1 tag. Hello KMIT. Save it. How do I read this? You already know how to read it. Write an FS require it server, get the data, require FS system, file system, take to the FS. All right. Let me do something here. Read the file before creating the server. Let me copy it from the FS, please. Reading synchronously I'm doing. Read, I want read. Yeah. Reading. Paste it here. What is that file name? My /index.html. All right. My HTML, let me type something like my HTML here. I want that to be shown here. HTML. It's reading the file and putting that into the my HTML what we have in it and rendering as is, please. So let's try to reload. It does not happen. Oh, it read only HTML part? Oh, sorry.
My HTML.
Restart the server. You can see that hello HTML, hello KMIT. So let's look here. It's again the text and the, I was seeing that. Please look into this. Little bit up, little bit up. Okay, I hope you can make out here. URL is this, response is, you see this response. It's not a direct text, it's a complete HTML. It's not coming up. Please try to make out from this. All the way right, please. You can see my response. It is a HTML one. You see what is changing here? That's not a simple message. You can also show up your direct HTML also. I'll try to show in the next class how to directly read, show as in directly that file, please, along with the CSS part. Did I make sense so far, everybody? How to create a server, what is internal architecture of it, what you are requesting for, what it is taking internally, how it is sending the response. Is that clear, everybody? Yes? Yes or no? Yes. We'll
Yeah.
start one exercise on this creation. It's an too fun exercise where you need to give your URL, please.
Yeah. Please set up the exercise. So I have two questions to be asked. Now, everyone is able to access what he has written.
Access.
Bilahari, just type localhost. If you can open your browser, the IP address of that system, if you're connected to KMIT Audi, what is the IP address of your system? So you will tell the IP address, you should be able to see Hello KMIT on your screens. That is how remote and client architecture. But they is going to share you. But my question is the takeaway from this. Bilahari, can you open the program once, the code? Just a question here, I'm just curious. We are using require, but most of the programs use import. So what is the difference? Why are you not using import here? If you're learning modules, type of modules, it should be import statement, but there's no import. Why it is require? What is the reason? Yes? Anyone who wants to answer? Pardon? CGS file, very good. So generally it is, in other terms, ES6. ECMAScript 6. We are not following ECMAScript 6 here. So if we follow that, we need to use import. Require is outdated, most probably. Okay? But by default, what have you created? Can anyone guess what Bilahari sir has created just now? Yes? Anyone? He has created a simple Express library. It's form of Express, where there is a request and response. But not Express because he has not implemented endpoints, but simple reading a file and talking to it and serving that file to you. That's it. Right? So in your piece, you might have used fetch. How many of you know fetch? Okay. So generally we use fetch to get connected to a server and use it. Here you're creating a server, plus you're interacting it with that. But we don't use fetch. Is there any reason? We're going to learn anyhow in the next couple of sessions. Why don't we use it? As we are setting up, done? Too fun exercise. Is done? I'm sorry, you can start it, no problem. We don't use fetch because Axios is having a callback, whereas fetch does not have a callback. That's the only thing. Fetch hinders the render output. Okay, go ahead.
The response of the server should display a text, welcome to KMIT inside H1 tag. Inside H1 tag. All right? And pass your URL over here. Port number, up to that please. Pass your URL in the value double quotes please. Our system will fetch your URL, your code. Is it having H1 tag? Does that H1 tag has a welcome to KMIT? Are you using a no HTTP server or not? All this we'll try to check. Not manually, system will evaluate it. In case you stuck somewhere, let me know, I'll come to you please.